Scotty A. Smith coming in hot. Let's get it.
It's of course Kyler. Why wouldn't it be Kyler? Listen, this story was going to be Kyler when he signed the new contract, and then there's so many developing things beyond that I can't wait to talk about the dumpster fire that is the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Let's go back in time. We have a TikTok that talks about, it wasn't even meant to be, it wasn't even a coming in hot, but it kind of turned into that, where I kind of dumped on Kyler Murray for social media wise, unfollowing the Cardinals, taking away pictures of him as a Cardinal, all of this nonsense that I think is absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a look at Kyler Murray's career. Kyler Murray, the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So kind of big expectations, right? If you're the number 1 overall, you should be pretty good. You should develop into a very elite, or if not above average, quarterback in this league. Let's take a look at this. When Kyler Murray unfollowed the team after 3 years, it was his first time making the playoffs. Congratulations. How did he do in that playoff game? They lost 34-11 to the eventual champion Rams. No shame in losing the Rams, 34-11. Let's talk about that game. Box score for Kyler Murray. Maybe the worst performance I've ever seen from a quarterback. Remember, we were all excited. They added a Monday Night Football game to wildcard weekend. And then it was the Rams and Cardinals, and Kyler Murray went 19-34 for 34 attempts for 137 yards, 0 touchdowns, which is kind of false, and 2 picks. He did throw a touchdown. It was just to the Rams team. So one of the worst performances we've ever seen from a quarterback, and certainly the worst of Kyler's career. He's coming off of. He decides in the offseason after that to unfollow social media with the Cardinals, and I jump on him for him. I'm like, what has Kyler done to warrant any of this nonsense? And what do the Cardinals do? What do the Cardinals do? They go out and they reward a man that's pouting with 5 years and $230 million contract. So I was ready to rant about this. You're paying $46 million to a guy that in 3 years has won, I think, 1 game more than he's lost. And let's break down each season. He was the number 1 pick, so obviously the Cardinals were garbage. They were in 2019, his first year, they were 3-3-1 after 7 games, finished 5-10-1. So he was what is that? 2-7 down the stretch. Fine, whatever. That was it. The Cardinals weren't going to be good. No big deal. 2020, they were the darlings of the NFL. They get to a hot start. They're 8-6 with 2 games to play, and they need to win one of these games to make the playoffs. One of these games against division rivals. They start out with the San Francisco 49ers, who, by the way, in 2020, which this was, were garbage. They were injured. They had no one. They were on their 3rd string quarterback and CJ Beathard in that game. And the Cardinals lose 20-12 in that game. Kyler plays like trash. The whole team plays like trash. And they lose to an awful San Francisco team 20-12 with their 3rd string quarterback. But oh wait, all you have to do is win the next week and you're still in the playoffs. Bad news. You have to play the Rams with Wolford starting. I don't even know how to say his name. They lose 18-7 in a game that Kyler Murray gets hurt with an ankle injury in the first quarter and sits out for 2 quarters and then has a miraculous recovery and comes back in the 4th. That makes me so mad as a fan of a team. If you're hurt, you're hurt. There's no miraculous recovery where you can't play the 2nd and 3rd quarter and then your team sucks, so you come back in the 4th. So they lose 18-7 against a shitty Rams team that, no, not a shitty Rams team, a Rams team that made the playoffs, but with Wolford, who's nothing. So they choke in 2019. They choke even more in 2020. And then in 2021, they start out 10-2. They're God's gift to the world. They have the best record in the NFL. They end the season 1-5. They go, 1-4. They go 11-6 overall, and then the pre-stated playoff dumpster fire against the Rams. And this is the offseason when your quarterback's coming off a 1-5 stretch, including the playoffs, that you decide to pay him $46 million a year after he unfollows you like a child on social media. So everything that happens from here is more to blame for the Cardinals than it is for Kyler Murray. I'm not even disrespecting. Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. Not great, but he's good. He's fine. I'm not hating on him completely. But the Cardinals giving him this contract, and then of course, then it comes out, like everyone knows, we have this clause in it that's never been written into another contract in any sport ever, where he has to study independently 4 hours a week on his own. And this was found out by the media, and all of a sudden people, take this because it's kind of a big deal. It's basically the Cardinals admitting this is your weakness. You don't study. And oh, by the way, Kyler comes out then and pouts about it. And he's like, how dare you question my ability to prepare? I prepare. I'm 5'10". Do you think I could make it this far without preparing? And then let me go back to a quote from Kyler Murray within the past year. And I quote, this is Kyler Murray. I think I was blessed with the cognitive skills to just go out there and just see it before it happens. I'm not one of those guys gonna sit there and kill myself watching film. I don't sit there for 24 hours and break down this team and that team and watch every game because in my head, I see so much. Kyler Murray said it himself. This is why it's in the contract. And this is why the Cardinals are a poverty franchise. And we're so desperate that they drafted a okay quarterback because they remember the ghost of Josh Rosen or the ghost of Matt Leinart. They've never drafted a good quarterback in their history. The best quarterback they've drafted is probably Jake Plummer. They've been in Arizona for 34 years. They've won the division 3 times. And one of those years was 9-7 year when they made the Super Bowl. They made the Super Bowl in a 9-7 year. That wasn't even a very good team. They just got hot at the right time. Arizona, in 34 years in Arizona as the Cardinals, has been an awful franchise. And they got desperate and sad, and they signed this guy because they're worried about, they pandered to his pouting, but they put in this clause, and then Kyler, whether he knew about it or not, I don't care. He's pouting about it. He goes to the media about it. And what do the Cardinals do? They decide to remove it as if it didn't exist. It's already over. This is like them removing it is like taking the movie Titanic or the real life Titanic and being like 50 years after the fact, being like, everyone knows what happened. Why don't we just dive down and add more life rafts so that everyone can get away and not die? It's too late. It's literally like recovering something that already is done. They're dead. It's over. We know. Charles Barkley recently in an interview put it perfectly. And Kyler Murray doesn't have the awareness to get this. Because instead of getting upset, the first thing you need to realize when something's said in the media is it true? Is it true? And quite frankly, if someone for the first time in the history of sports is putting this clause in the contract, it is true. But Kyler went the other route, and then the Cardinals catered to it. This franchise has failed beyond any franchise I've ever, like on the grounds of the Browns this offseason. Those two franchises are so desperate to cater to a quarterback that they have lost their damn minds and in the process embarrassed themselves, their quarterbacks, everything along the way. And I know I've gone on for a long time here, Chris, but this is such a dumpster fire, and it's so hilarious to me. I laugh at it. The combination of Kyler Murray and the Cardinals is perfect in the sense it provides me with content I could use for years, Chris. Years. It's so bad and it's so hilarious what's transpired within the past week. That's all I got.